Okay.
Okay, here we go. All right, here we go. Okay,
Hi,
welcome everybody.
we're here.
Okay, well, briefly, I want to talk about a little bit of history, and I want to talk about it through the book Prepare. Okay, the book Prepare is like the motto of the Boy Scouts: be prepared. And when you look at the second chapter, it's like crazy. It goes through all these dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of diets that people have tried over the past 100 years. And back when we were 17th in the world when it came to longevity, right now we're 42nd. All these eat right for your blood type didn't work. Eat right. Let's see here, the 4 food diet, the 7 food diet, the low calorie diet. They've all killed millions of people. All those diets together have killed more people than all the wars that we fought in the last 100 years. Okay, and so everybody needs to get a hold of this book, Prepare. Okay, you can go to www.drjwallach.com, www.drjwallach.com, and get this book, Prepare. Oh my gosh, it'll blow your mind. The stuff you need to know, it's in here. And then also, we have February coming up, Black History Month. We have the book Black Gene Lies. There are no genetically transmitted diseases. I'm going to repeat that. There are no genetically transmitted diseases. I'm going to repeat that. There's no genetically transmitted diseases. Okay. All the diseases said to be genetically transmitted are, in fact, just simple nutritional deficiencies. And we're talking about high blood pressure, diabetes, obesity. We're talking about Alzheimer's disease. We're talking about MS, multiple sclerosis. We're talking about arthritis. We're talking about heart disease. We're talking about all those kinds of things. We're talking about birth defects. They're all nutritional deficiency diseases. Now, there's a few birth defects that are caused by infections, but 99.9% of them are caused by nutritional deficiencies. And it's one of those things where it just reaffirms and reconfirms the fact that you must supplement with the 90 essential nutrients. Because when you go to the 4 food groups, or you go to the 7 food groups, or you go to the eat right for your blood type, that sort of thing, you're leaving out enormous amounts of these nutrients. And so we'll say, well, where did people get them 1,000 years ago? Well, people got them 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, by putting wood ashes into their gardens, okay, and putting wood ashes into their food. And here we go. And it all changed at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Monday, September 4th, 1882, on Pearl Street in New York City, in the bluff overlooking the construction of the Brooklyn Bridge, when Thomas Edison pulled the switch and brought us to electricity, okay? And we named this story Hell's Kitchen after the district in New York City where every bad thing in the world happens. And they deemed that district Hell's Kitchen because of a place of hell, okay? And so that's why we named the book Hell's Kitchen, to describe what went on when we switched from wood and coal as fuel to electricity at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Monday, September 4th. Now, the U.S. Senate came out in 1936 and said on U.S. Senate document 264, there's no longer enough sufficient, the U.S. Senate document 264, there's no longer sufficient minerals in our farm soils to support long and healthy human life. That was 1936, the U.S. Senate. And that's because, and that's when we started commercial fertilizers. There was never any commercial fertilizer available until after like 1920 or 1930. Okay, prior to that, it was always manure and stuff that you would put it, into the compost pile and that kind of stuff, and put in your gardens and put in the fields. And also, we had the spring floods in the big farms. We had the spring floods. And when the floodwaters would recede or go down into the soil, it would leave all the silt. And the farmers would plow that silt back in and renew the mineral value of the soil, because the plants, the crops, had sucked all the minerals out. And each year, the bottomland, that's why bottomland was so valuable, because it would renew every year from the floods. And then they made the biggest mistake of all. they invented hydroelectric. They dammed up all the rivers and all the streams. They're bringing the silt and minerals into the fields. They dammed them all up for electricity. And by 1936, there's no more minerals in our soil, so they had to go to commercial fertilizer. Now, they didn't go to 75 minerals. They didn't go to 60 minerals. They went to 3 minerals, NPK, because that's what plants needed to grow and make good seeds and so forth, was just NPK. And so that's what you get in the vegetables and fruit and stuff that you eat now, unless they're adding compost and that sort of stuff. And composting NPK is just getting more NPK. So that's why we've dropped down to 42 in life expectancy. And that's why we have so many pandemics and all these problems, because our immune systems suck at this point, because we don't have all the nutrients necessary to pull it off. So to pull it off, you must supplement. You must proactively, consciously supplement with the 90 essential nutrients. And an example is, historically, the most popular sports drink, energy drink, was Red Bull. They sell $8 billion a year worth of Red Bull. $8 billion a year worth of Red Bull. It only has one mineral in it, magnesium. Now, why did Red Bull choose magnesium to put that one mineral in, along with their sugar and their caffeine? Well, that's because a guy by the name of Bruce Lee, who is considered the fitness guru of the world, but for every country in the world, okay, back in the 1970s. And he only liked magnesium because he had some muscle cramps. And then he died at 32. And I spent 2 weeks, a couple of months ago, finding out why he died, because they never said why he died in 1973 when he died. He just suddenly died. And then just a couple of months ago, they came out and said, after 40-something years, 49 years, they said, oh, we finally figured out that Bruce Lee died because he drank too much water. That's nonsense. So I spent 2 weeks going through all the interviews that newspapers and radios and TVs and magazines like Sports Illustrated did of him. And they were asking what he ate for breakfast, what he ate for lunch, what he ate for dinner, what did he take to support his exercise programs, what did he take for energy. And I took all that, okay, and put it into a story here, okay, which is called There's a New Bull in Town. There's a New Bull in Town. There's 3 CDs in here. One is Dead Athletes Don't Lie. The other one is, second one is Exercise While Someone Tasting Suicide. The third one is What Kills Billionaires. The average life expectancy for professional athletes is, 56.7. 56.7 for professional athletes. The average life expectancy for billionaires, okay, is 66.7, because they exercise, and they don't supplement. They eat well. They eat $200 meals. They're eating well. They don't need to supplement. And that's why they died 66, billionaires, okay? And so it's one of those things where the stories are in here in the set, okay? There's a New Bull in Town. They're available. You can buy them now, and they're $10 for the set plus shipping. And it gives you all the stories of why all these peoples are dying so young. And of course, in each case, it tells you what you need to do. The 90 essential nutrients. That's why we came out with the healthy start pack. And then we had to add things to it. The secret sauces when people had arthritis. Okay, we added the glucogel, and we had the healthy bone and joint pack. And then we had to add the sweeties when people had diabetes, because they had a healthy blood sugar pack, because they needed more of certain things, okay, to deal with those diseases. We have programs for over 600 different diseases, and we have 5,000 products to pull this off. No other company has gone to that effort to do those things, to make everything available necessary to add 25 to 50 healthful years of people's lives. And we've done that. And so we're very, very excited. Okay, we're very, very excited about this. And don't forget, if you don't have it, you need to get a hold of the book Prepare. Okay, Prepare. Okay, the Prepper's Survival Bible. Prepare, the Prepper's Survival Bible. This book will blow your mind, because it goes into all the failed diets. Holy moly. And I spent over 20 years in the military. I retired as lieutenant colonel in the military. And that's why that picture is on the front of the book, okay? That's me in my heyday in the military. Okay. And I was in the Army at Fort Leonard Wood with the 105, 155 howitzers. And then they transferred me to the Air Force because they wanted all the knowledge I had for first aid in the field because I had all my merit badges, Eagle Scout, and all that kind of stuff. They didn't have to train me; they just threw me out in the field. Okay, and so this is me during my work days in the military, out in the field during battles. Okay, so don't forget we have the problem because we transferred from wood as fuel. Wood ashes and coal ashes were 95 to 98% minerals and 2 or 3% carbon. And then we went to electricity. We no longer had access to wood ashes and ashes from coal. Okay, and that's when they came out with commercial fertilizers. And that's why in 1936, the U.S. Senate document 264 and said, we no longer have sufficient minerals in our farm soils to support healthy human life. Okay, so with that said, let's see, I'm going to turn this over.
Okay, Doc, I got you.
Okay, do you have some questions?
Does anyone have a question for Doc? Okay, Doc, while someone thinks of a question, I have a couple of questions for you.
Oh, go for it.
When were you in the military actively?
Oh, yes.
Not just in the reserves?
Both.
So how many, what wars did you serve in, or what battles, what conflicts?
Okay, I was in during the Korean Wars, and there was all sorts of little wars between, Israel and the Arabs. I was spent a lot of time in Israel and in Egypt and places like that.
I would have loved to have been a fly in your life, Doc, and lived through the whole thing. I would spend the next 83 years just reliving your life. It's so fascinating.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, I spent so many years in the Middle East because of the wars between the Hebrews and the Arabs. And I spent, let's see here, I spent a lot of time.
Were you ever in Lebanon in the Middle East?
Yes.
During those awful periods where it was really bad in there?
Well,
Lebanon?
it's really bad. I did Egypt. I did Saudi Arabia. I did Israel. I spent a lot of time in Ramat Gan, which is one of their big kibbutzes where we had a lot of American military there. And I was teaching, first aid, field first aid, that sort of stuff. And then, of course, Egypt and so on. And sent me to East Africa, to Kenya, because we're training a lot of the people in Israel and Kenya to go fight in the Middle East. And so I was training them.
Pam, is that you? Who just spoke up? Okay, I guess that was a mistake.
Push the button.
Yeah, I have no control here. Or you must be talking to the person who tried to talk. Okay. Doc is saying push your button or unmute yourself. Doc, were you ever involved with anybody who helped Israel learn to turn the desert into productive farmland? Were you ever involved in any of those projects personally?
Yes, I was. Of course, we have yet today a lot of stuff that goes on in Israel because of our ability to provide, which I say, growing crops and what you need to do to make sure that the crops are able to absorb the nutrients from the soil. And you have to put the nutrients in the soil. They, in Israel, use a lot of our plant-derived minerals. You have, and you look at our sports drink, even their military, our sports drink, Rebound, has 75 minerals in it. We have 75 minerals in our Rebound. Red Bull has one mineral, magnesium. Red Bull has one mineral, magnesium. Let me share something with you. This is crazy. We have 75 minerals. Red Bull has one. We have 12 vitamins. Red Bull has 4. Okay. Sugar, Red Bull has, let's see, 114 grams. Okay. We have 40 grams. They have sodium, 140 milligrams. We have 20 milligrams. Okay. And so we're totally a different animal when it comes to providing nutrients for athletes and military personnel working in the heat or sweating. Okay. We provide 75 minerals.
Now, Doc, in last week's meeting, I believe it was last week, I had a question that came up from listening to you. Agriculture always you started using agricultural supplements for animals since you were a kid to get rid of your Tourette's syndrome.
That's correct. When I was 9 years old.
And so did zoos not use those types of things, even though animals were there, because these were exotic animals from different countries?
They did not. I had to introduce them into zoos. I had to introduce those nutrients into zoos. And one of the big projects Perkins gave me was liver cancer in bears. In every zoo in the world, every country in the world, the bears would die in their 20s from liver cancer. Okay, every species of bears. Okay, every species of bears in every country in the world, in every zoo in the world, was dying of liver cancer. And that's because they were feeding them peanuts, because they were selling peanuts to the visitors to the zoos so they could get money to pay for the food for the animals and pay the zookeepers. And I did all the research and found out what the problem was. And we switched over to clusters of dry dog food in little plastic bags instead of peanuts. Within 90 days, all the new diagnoses of liver cancer in bears around the world disappeared. You don't hear about it anymore. But that was a big problem. And it was published in the International Zoo Yearbook, and so I was very proud of that, because we were able to eliminate liver cancer in all the species of bears in all the zoos in the world. And that information I've utilized for my human patients, because so many people who would go to the bars on Friday nights to get their paycheck, they'd run and go get their they drink beer all night or whiskey, and then they get liver cancer. And the doctor said, "Well, you've been drinking so much alcohol, blah." It wasn't the alcohol that caused the liver cancer. It was the peanuts they were eating with their beer that caused the liver cancer.
Wow. So how many are all zoos in the world aware of this need now?
Yes, well, it was published in the International Zoo Yearbook in the early 1960s. Okay, I came back from Africa in 1965, and from 65 to 75, I did those autopsies, okay, 20,000 of them, and it's 450 species of animals. Almost 3,000 of those autopsies were humans, and got them published. And my thesis, 5,000 pages, is in the Smithsonian Institute as a national treasure. And they sold for, let's see here, they sold for $25,000 each.
And
if you can get them new, they sell for $25,000 each. And that's why we came out with the book Epigenetics, which is a summary of my thesis. We sell the summary for $25 each, not 25,000, but $25 each. Okay, and it's a summary of my thesis, which sells for $25,000 each. You can ask Siri, are any of my theses available for sale? And you can get some of them that are pretty beat up and have been dropped in the toilet and all that kind of stuff. They sell for anywhere from $2,000, $6,000, $8,000, because they're soiled or have a lot of underlining and dog-eared pages and stuff like that. And we're in the process of working on republishing that thesis, okay? And it's going to be somewhere in the range of somewhere between $100 to $200 instead of 25,000. So we're working on that.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Nobody's done as many autopsies as me.
That's fascinating. Doc, a while ago, I lost my files on this, so I'd like you to repeat the formula that you have talked about in other videos that you've done, the Knox formula of how to get bone building with using Knox gelatin. Can you repeat that?
Okay, basically we have what we call the Healthy Bone and Joint Pack. Okay, We have the Healthy Bone and Joint Pack. And basically, the Knox Gelatin was kind of a beginning, okay? And of course, it wasn't perfect. Well, now we have it perfect. It's called the Healthy Bone and Joint Pack, which is our 90 essential nutrients. And we've added to that, okay, we've added to the 90 essential nutrients our glucogel, which is beef collagen. And then, of course, we came up with collagen peptides, which is collagen from fish, poultry, sheep, and beef. And so if you have any kind of arthritis, you definitely want to utilize the, let's see here, you want to utilize a minimum of the Healthy Start Pack and the MSM, which has all the sulfur in it and everything for your cartilage. Take 3 of those twice a day per 100 pounds of body weight, and 2 doses a day of the Healthy Bone and Joint Pack. And then you want to take the collagen peptides with those collagens from 4 different groups of animals. Take that. Take our Beyond Osteo FX. Take a scoop of that with your morning drink, scoop of that with your evening drink, and then the vitamin D3. And we take people that have every kind of arthritis and osteoporosis you can think of, and they've had it for 25, 30, 40 years. And in weeks, they get improvement. Within months, they get massive improvement. And within anywhere from 6 to 8 to 10 weeks, I always say, give me 90 days and I'll rebuild you so you don't have to get your double knee replacement. You won't have to get your hip replacement. You won't have to have back surgery. You won't have to have shoulder surgery and all kind of stuff. And there's so many professional athletes, okay, that I have rebuilt, including, let's see here, Theo Ratliff. He was 24 years old. He had bone-to-bone arthritis in both his knees. He had arthritis in his hips. His cartilage slipped off his hips. He fractured his shooting arm wrist. He lost his $35 million contract with the Atlanta Hawks. I came up with a Healthy Bone and Joint Pack for him, okay, and rebuilt him. He came back in 6 months' time, played for 11 years with the professional basketball, made $100 million. You think he likes my formula?
And his tall wife too, right? She's like
Yep.
6 feet, 6'5". Doc, do you have any knowledge of the Buffalo football player that was hurt in the field? The press is not giving any information about what's going on with his health. Do you have any inside information about that at 24 years? I think he's also 24 years old. That athlete that was collapsed on the field last week or 2 weeks ago or something?
This happens to about 2,000 young people under the age of 25 each year in America. And 2,000 of them will die, okay, each year. 1,500 to 2,000 will die. The two girls just died this last weekend, okay? One was 16, one was 18. Both of them professional athletes, okay, if you will. The first one was 16 years old. She was playing flag football and died. And she'd been approved by her doctor the day before to go play, and she died of a heart attack. That's hypertrophic cardiomyopathy heart disease. And then 3 days later, an MMA martial arts guru girl, okay, 18 years old, she died, okay, playing her martial arts, doing her martial arts. And I have to, trying to find out from their families what they were eating, okay, because I guarantee you they were eating gluten. They were not taking the 90 essential nutrients, okay, and that's why they died. Because they sweat out nutrients and they just drink water, or they'll drink Red Bull, or they'll drink Gatorade and that kind of stuff. Okay. And that's why they die. Okay.
So you don't think that there's any possibility that that football player in the Buffalo team could be having something resulting from vaccines?
Okay. I don't know anything about that. All I don't know anything about this football player.
Okay.
And so if you can get me information, they're not letting any information out.
Yes, they're not.
And so I can't have an opinion on nothing.
Right. Sure. Does anyone else have a question for Doc right now?
We have like 6 minutes left.
Okay. All right. Well, I have another question, Doc.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Quickly.
Go ahead.
This is dear. Yeah, I have a question.
I can't hear you.
But I was wanted to know about. Huh?
I
Can't
cannot
hear
hear
me?
you.
Hello?
I can hear her, Doc. You
Oh.
can?
Okay.
That's better.
He can hear you now, Dia. Go ahead.
Okay.
Quickly.
Okay. I want to ask about the what's called it, not Red Bull, but what we have.
Rebound.
I just remember what the name of
Rebound.
it. Rebound. Okay. Can rebound be put in a feeding tube for a person that had a stroke and then he
Sure.
can't eat through his
Absolutely.
mouth?
Okay, stop.
Can you put
Stop.
rebound in?
Stop. You can put
Huh?
rebound into the feeding tube if the doctors will let you do it. It's,
Okay.
okay. But also you can take our plant minerals, our liquid plant minerals, and rub them on their back and their chest and their bellies. We had Pastor Mike Freeman from Baltimore, Maryland, who was in a coma for 6 months. They said he only had days to live. And I told his wife and Linda Tyler up in Baltimore, Maryland, to rub the plant minerals on him, his back and his front, which they did. In 3 days' time, he wakes up. That was 10 years ago. He wakes up, shaves, goes back, and he goes to the his office and his TV and radio station at the church, because he's a pastor, and he told his story. So we have that set available. You should get that set and listen to it immediately. Okay. It's a CD and a DVD. It's called Praise the Lord and Pass the 90. If you've ever been in the military, you know what that means. It's Praise the Lord and Pass the ammunition. Well, in this case, it's Praise the Lord and Pass the 90. And just rubbing those 75 minerals on him in our plant minerals, it woke him out of a 6-month coma. And that was 10 years ago. And
I was
okay. And he's working hard right now.
So
D,
Huh?
we
I
try
can
again. Go ahead, D. Speak, Dia.
Okay. Okay. He got the minerals and I put it on his feet. I soak his feet like in the minerals, and then I rub him down on the hands and everything too. And so
Could that be an
on his stomach is where the tube come out, or how? I don't know.
It doesn't matter.
Too much,
the hands and the feet, he should be absorbing it through his skin anywhere, whether it's his hands, his feet, his belly, whatever. Okay.
Could that, if he's applying it to a lot of his body, could it be overdosing him?
No.
No. Good. Okay. Dia, did you hear that? That
okay.
Rub it on
All right.
a lot of his body. It's safe. You could do that. I believe that was
okay.
Right?
Yeah. Rub it on his belly. Rub it on his chest, rub it on his back between his shoulder blades, rub it on his low back twice a day. Okay.
You'll need to update your Apple Music.
Okay.
Okay. I'm trying to turn my phone off here.
Okay. Is that all the questions you had, Dia? Okay.
I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and wish everybody a very, very happy New Year.
Oh, wait, Doc, if you have another minute, Dia was starting to say something else about her own problem.
Okay, well, the end of the show is on right now.
Okay, so Dia,
we only have a half hour.
Come back to next week and
come back to next week and get on earlier.
Okay, Dia.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Thank you, Doc, for a wonderful meeting. Thank you, Doc, for a wonderful meeting, wonderful information, and thank you everybody for joining us. So bye. Have a great week, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Doc.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay.